And we're back. It's another Friday. This Friday's a good Friday. It's not the Good Friday. It's a good Friday. It's the Friday of Labor Day weekend, which means another summer is gone. That was fast. It was just Halloween, and Halloween's around the corner. Today I'm here with Art, as always, and we've got a special guest, Kevin, and we're going to talk about copiers and all sorts of stuff like we always do.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome, Kevin. Welcome. Um, what can we talk about that's not copiers right off the bat? Well, baseball, football season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's this weekend. So the college stuff is starting up. The high school stuff is start here in Michigan at least. Yeah, I think we talked about it last week. In Michigan, it's illegal to start school before Labor Day. So you can't start classes. You can only start right after Labor Day. So I grew up with that. It was my everyday, that's how summer ended. It was Labor Day weekend. So football starting, baseball will be swinging into the final swing, the leaves will be turning, all sorts of cool stuff. What's going on with you, Art, in New Jersey?
New Jersey. First week of the new month. We closed
Hmm.
on the
Oh,
25th. Summer was a little slow. I'm calling it the COVID 5-year COVID hangover. We've spoken about that before, right?
yeah.
But two orders already in the books for
Oh,
this week, which is
sandbagger.
good.
You're a sandbagger.
Yeah, I'm a sandbagger. Yeah. And came off a good appointment yesterday for that should go next week for 50K in revenue. So
Oh, cool. Well, all right. That's good.
yeah, yeah, thank goodness, right?
Yeah. Pull
Yeah,
that one
It's
out.
it's
Yeah.
funny how in this industry we can go from a hero to a zero in just one phone call,
All the time. Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
yep.
It's the best. It's the worst. Kevin, give
Well,
us a quick introduction of what you are and who you are and where you're going and where you at, by the way.
I'm
Where
in, I'm in I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska,
Oh, okay.
and
All right.
summer ends for us when they close the swimming pools. So
Oh.
we don't really have a timeline like you guys do. Ours is just a little bit less structured. So that's how growing up was with us.
Mm,
My company's Matrix Business Systems. We do our two lines that we like to work with the most is with Epson and Brother Corporation. Those are the two we spend most of our time with. We, at one point or another, through all these years, you end up with all of them at one point, But um, for us, it's clearly the Epson on the inkjet and the Brother on the high IQ machines.
okay. Cool.
Epson was in the news this week
Oh,
What
with
was it?
for?
I think it was where's my notes? My notes are on one of these screens.
Where are your friends?
Impression Solutions selected as a Epson distributor.
Correct.
And then the other one was I think Lee Davis posted they finally that lawsuit between Epson and a Texas dealer finally came to fruition.
Hmm.
It's so Epic
Yep.
and Epson, and the deal has been settled on that account,
But the
and
money was unannounced, right?
yeah, if there was any money,
Got it.
Hmm.
and with the ISI, the Impression Solutions. I don't know if you guys work with them at all. They're a really great company. Um, Great people to work with. I've been working with them since 2017, 18. I took my first Epson training, service training actually at their facility. So,
Impressions,
yep,
where are they located?
Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, great company, great people to work with. Couldn't be happier with them. So they've had
So,
Epson all these years, but what
right.
Epson what Epson did was Epson's on their third generation now in the office products on the office side. Um, and what they did was when they went to the Gen 3 machines, which is our current version right now, they didn't bring the resellers with them, the suppliers, the wholesalers. So
Right.
you had to go Epson direct.
Oh.
And now the way it's working with the popularity of the inkjet and such, they realized that there was a benefit to having ISI and stuff in there. So we would buy our large format, our desktops, all of that stuff through Impression Solutions and other companies um, through via Epson. But
Right.
because of my situation, my our unique situation with Epson, we work directly with Epson, so we buy almost everything through Epson. But I do still do a reasonable amount of business with Impression Solutions, just because sometimes it's just quicker than Epson. So
Got it. And they've been around for quite a while. They've been around, correct?
they're the largest Kyocera dealer in the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
they're a distributor, and also um, I might have the story wrong a little bit, but they were the largest dealer of Kyocera. And then they made a deal with Kyocera, and they became the largest distributor of Kyocera. But at the same time, they're still a very large dealer. I still think they are the largest dealer of Kyocera. But at the time that I was working with them on that stuff, they're a pretty big deal in that world. Yes,
That's an interesting. So they're a dealer and a distributor.
correct. Very,
Wow.
very. What's interesting about it is there's nobody in that company that you'll speak to that absolutely doesn't know what they're talking about. Normally you get somebody that's a little bit maybe not involved in the sales or the tech, technical side of it. Not at ISI. They know. Yeah,
Right.
they're very
Hmm.
good at that information. So I like working with them, and sometimes I work with them and just on like on large format. That's kind of more of your background, but I dabble in it. We do quite a bit of it as far as just because of collateral business. We don't really aggressively go after large format,
Mm.
Right.
but ISI is always the ones that keeps us up to speed on what we need to know. So,
That's
Hmm.
cool. So one of the other things that came up this week, Greg, is I had a one of my old contacts reach out to me and wanted news about Canon's new OS, which is Harmony OS.
Mm.
And he was apparently over in China. Huawei's involved.
Oh, really?
Yes, with the OS.
No wonder I don't know anything about it.
So his question came to me, asking me, well, since Huawei's basically doing the, involved with the Harmony OS, is that true for the U.S. marketplace?
I would
Because
imagine. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't.
because the U.S. has a ban still on Huawei,
Yeah. Yeah. And an operating system's pretty. It's even worse than a chunk of hardware, right?
right?
If it's a Huawei OS. When you say OS, what does he mean? At the what machine
So,
level? Or,
so, so, um, I'll give you a little background. Huawei's Harmony OS Next, creating a native Harmony OS printing ecosystem. So, I'm thinking maybe that could be like the Linux OSs that the copier manufacturers use, because it's also stating that the Harmony OS is going to be in all the new ImageForce canons. We
hmm
spoke about them last week,
hmm hmm
right?
Yeah. Interesting.
So good question. I didn't know. I had to put out to ChatGPT, see what they came up with.
Anything?
So here it goes. Canon in China has officially certified 31
31.
of its printer models to work with Huawei's Harmony OS Next. Reports indicated that about 300 Canon printers and digital MFPs now support Harmony OS integration, extending a partnership between Canon and Huawei that started in 2018. So the main question was, does this affect ImageForce MFPs sold in the US? ChatGPT came back with machine learning features like security, environment estimation, and AI-assisted diagnostics. Canon's proprietary D2 exposure. Remember we spoke about that last week,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So all this other stuff that's built into this OS, it's coming back basically with United States government restricts Huawei and federal and defense supply chains, and there's no evidence Canon is using Huawei developed OS components in ImageForce devices sold in the US.
Yeah.
If that was the case, it would likely have appeared in product documentation or compliance notes.
Yeah. It looks like it's primarily for the Chinese market, which would make sense. All
Right.
right. Yeah. Short answer is no. Harmony isn't supported in the current, the limited canon in the U.S.
Well, from
But
what we
they're
know,
not. That's what my report shows up. It
right.
wouldn't if it came in. It won't be allowed in. The U.S. wouldn't let that. That'd be on the ban list. But interesting. I mean, China's a pretty big market.
Oh,
So might as well sell their machines into China.
oh,
And
absolutely.
there's no telling why they went to Harmony either. They may have had to. Who knows? Anyway, that's interesting. Yeah, but I'm sure we won't get it here.
Right, but
Yeah.
could you get it in the Australia
I don't know if I bet you they don't have the
marketplace?
ban. Probably. You could probably
Right.
get it. I don't know what the highway ban is in Australia.
Yeah, I don't either. By the
Hmm.
way, we have a meeting set up with Pudu later. Didn't notify you. We have a 7 p.m. meeting with a VP of Pudu over in Australia.
Hoodoo, huh?
Pudu, yes.
Right.
Kevin, are you familiar with Pudu?
No, and I got questions about a lot of things. What fill me in?
So Greg and I
Hoodoo.
we're working, we started our own robotics consortium. We believe at some time that office equipment dealers uh, should start thinking about making a move to when print expires. And our consortium is to marry office equipment dealers with robotic OEMs.
Okay.
So Greg's has a little bit more on that. He can give you a little bit more of a
Yeah,
breakdown.
it's not rocket surgery here, but so if you look at as our industry has the infrastructure set up to do everything from buy big boxes, pre-configure, deliver, install, train, lease, sell, support. We know the difference between a help desk and a service desk. We know how to dispatch. So if the numbers on the robotics are going to be as big as they are, what we found is these robotic manufacturers really don't have a strong go-to-market B2B approach. They have a B2C, and they're in the mode that if I build it, they will come, which at one point in the future is going to be like car dealerships. Right now, it's our idea to at least get the idea out into the market. We're bringing robots to the channel and the channel to robots. Now, every OEM that we've spoken to on the robot side, if they have a go-to-market strategy, it's preliminary and it's engineering based. There's no real sales or marketing thing attached to it, which makes sense because they're still literally in pre-production, right? They're looking for big installs that almost act as a proof of concept or an R&D into the field. But we've signed up one solid here in the last 5 months, and then we've got another one on the books for next week. The idea is to just marry these two, the OEM manufacturers with what we call office ready robotics. And these aren't ones that are bolted to the ground. They've got wheels and they can autonomously move throughout the office environment. And we're going to link it, with LLMs so to communicate with the employees or whomever. And I think the easiest example for someone to think of, and although it's a little bit archaic, is the old mail delivery guy who would go from floor to floor and he'd have this little basket thing and dropping off, inter-office memos back in the olden days.
Yep.
The one we just signed up, and now they've got more models, is that vein, right? You can stack a bunch of toner cartridges on it and say, hey, go take this over to the dock or wherever, and it'll go ahead and do that all on its own. Or go ahead and start delivering these reams of paper to all the copiers in the organization, and off it goes, that kind of stuff. So that's our first step. Ultimately, we want to get into the humanoids, the bipedals, and help dealers, provide that for their customers. It's a great fit. We think that the dealer channel can take a hold of this and identify with it. And there's a sales and support model already there. I mean, if your autonomous tray stops working, you can call the help desk. We have one, or we can dispatch a technician, which obviously have to be trained and everything. But that infrastructure is already there, that billing, everything. And these devices that we're talking to, because we certify them, they all have ways to communicate their usage back to the dealer or something. So you're going to know that this particular model walked 4,000 feet today, which could convert into whatever, 4,000 images,
Right.
whatever. So that could be, you could build your service agreement around the same thing. The parts do have a life that is measurable. So you're going to, your service
Yep.
cost can be calculated. So it's
It
not a bad,
yeah. It is the
pretty good
next
fit.
great planned obsolescence for that our industry needs to take a hold of while print, you know, slowly fades into obscurity.
Yeah, we think this thing will shoot up a lot faster than the print will die, which is good too, because they're going to launch this new marketing thing from ground floor. It's going to have to be funded through something, and as long as the print is still there and slowly decreasing, they're still going to have enough funds to fund some new project. Although there's not much, we're not asking people to invest a ton of money into this, so it's kind of a switch and go. But anyway, that's what we're doing. We're doing crickets. We've got a show in November. I think we've got now 3 or 4 robot point proof of concepts that we're going to show off at the show. Art and I are going to do a little bit on an LLM train. Salespeople can be trained by an LLM, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. The artificial intelligence, large language model. We've been doing that, and with our with our relationship with Twain, it's kind of flowered into something even more. Twain, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, some sort of scanning standards, right?
Yeah,
Standards.
I'm from.
Okay, yeah, same
Okay.
here. It's like, yeah, I
It's
know
called
what it is.
technology without an intelligent name.
Yep, that's them.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
familiar with it.
they're on board with this consortium, and they're diving into the robotic side, but now they're kicking around the ideas. It's on the whiteboard is how to establish what they did for scanning, what they can do for maybe robotics. Because the devices should have some sort of standard way to talk back to other devices. So they're at that level, even at the LLM level, and they're working with someone, right? What's that security thing, Art? They're doing with they've got Google and all these big or Adobe in on this. The
C2PA.
Yeah, C2PA. Yeah,
C2PA is one of them. Yep.
yeah. There's all sorts of weirdly connected things that are all working in the same direction. So, but that's what we're doing. But our robots, I think it's a cool thing. It's the pricing that we've found is, these units can be 18 to 25 grand to start. So, it's a monthly payment, easily calculated. Leasing companies have been responsive, but they've already got a hell of a lot of infrastructure already to launch that within a dealership. And yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I could talk about it forever, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we find that a lot of the dealerships, even the dealership I work for, our technicians are getting to the point where they're aging out. Older, coming up for retirement, and our industry has a very hard time getting new blood for technicians into the industry. We feel as though dealerships who can be forward with thinking and maybe say, okay, well, we're interested in robotics. We're maybe not interested in reselling them yet or putting them out to our clients, but we'd like to get one in our dealership and have it do the mundane tasks that happen every day in our dealership. Moving paper, going getting toner cartridges, maybe helping technicians. Our robot is going to be AI enabled, where you can actually ask our robot service questions on a particular unit. So we feel as dealerships who start early and start small will actually attract better and more, what can I say? Come on, Greg, help me.
More interesting. The argument is interesting when you're trying to attract new technicians versus, hey, would you like to join my team and help me fix copiers?
Correct.
Or, yeah, we do copiers, but we're experimenting in robotics and we're going to need someone to help us do that, either, just over the horizon, or we've already engaged or something like that. But that should attract a little more, should be very attractive to technicians other than just going out and fusers and toners and things like that. So we believe that when a dealership does offer robotics as a solution and needs a technician, it won't be as hard as finding a technician to service my Canons and my Ricos as it will be to say, hey, we just picked up a robot line. We need technicians to help us service that. That's going to attract more people. That's going to retain better talent too of your existing service technicians. They're either going to adapt or they're not.
Yep.
So it's just another enhancement. And I keep forgetting to mention this, but and I think this is true. The dealers that are left, they haven't joined the big conglomerates, haven't joined the mega dealers, and haven't gone out of business, made it through the downturn and COVID. They're the ones that are the fiercely independent ones and more likely to have a legacy, right? They may, they've got kids in the business.
Yep.
They're going, so what are they going to provide, or what can possibly
What are
set
they
them
going to
up
leave
the
to their
next,
kids?
the next 20, 30 years? I don't care what anyone says. It's not going to be copiers, right? It's like saying a typewriter today. But what will it be? We kind of think that, hey, this might be an opportunity where you can maintain or build your future for your legacy on robotics versus 3D printers, electrical vehicle rechargers, big screen monitors, things like that. I think this has got, forgive me, it's got more legs than anything else. So that's
Right.
another reason we like it.
Yeah.
So one of
Well,
the things you said earlier was you said if they build it, they will come. If we build it, they will come, right? So I'm going to ask you a question. See if you guys can answer this question. So what do Kodak and Blockbuster have in common?
They're both gone.
Kodak's still around, but
Well,
they're
the name is around. A little bit of
right.
technology.
They
The answer,
The
the
Block-
answer is, and BlackBerry. You could bring BlackBerry into that. Yeah, they'd be another one in that.
they rested on their laurels.
The answer is they didn't recognize the future didn't look familiar to them. So Kodak just missed digital film because they didn't digital cameras because they didn't think that it could replace film. It was too grainy, too slow. They didn't see that. They didn't see it. Okay. Blockbuster lived off of getting all their late fees. They didn't see Netflix. Blockbuster could have bought Netflix for $50 million, and wouldn't that have been a steal?
Mhm.
But they didn't. But the future didn't look familiar. Okay. And that's the same problem that we're seeing in the industry right now in our world. So I come up with it. I was one of the first 3 dealers in the United States to sign up with Epson back in 2017. In fact, it was so early that my contract got rewritten 6 times because
Wow.
the paperwork wasn't even right.
Mhm.
Okay, but I flew to Chicago on a Sunday morning to look at it in a hotel room when the biggest print show was right out literally down the hall, and it wasn't in there because it was pirated into the United States to be looked at.
Mhm.
So okay, so I'm completely aware of what when technology or the future doesn't look familiar, and the pushback has been is right now we're in a time where we used to have a gradual slope of technology over the years, and now it's abrupt. And so the problem is a lot of things don't look familiar. And so the pushback isn't whether or not it's a good idea. The pushback is whether or not you can make it look familiar to get people to let go of the grip they have on what they have and to
Mhm.
do something different.
Mhm.
Fair? I mean, that's
Mhm.
just
No, that's the struggle that I've had all my life. But that's again, you know, that's how this thing works because there is some similarities, there is an alignment, there's some parallel approaches. I mean, this, as weird as it sounds, it's not even as model breaking as management services was back in the day. MPS was a different way to do what they were already doing, quote unquote. But it took a long time for people to jump into that. And when they did, they ruined it and it didn't work. But because it was so foreign to a lot of people, if you remember back then, that the
mhm.
model was
Oh yeah,
different.
yeah.
So it was very foreign. It doesn't do what we want to do. And can I sell more copiers with MPS? And it's like, well, okay, but that didn't go. So going back, who had it? Xerox had the mouse. Uh, IBM put the PC in the typewriter division, right? Because there was probably only going to sell 3 ever, IBM PC. So
Yeah,
this has been,
remember that $2 million assessment and determined that there'd be less than 5 PCs in the world.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I still have a copy of that. I was reading that piece on it.
So yeah, and yet that's a great point, right? Now you're right. The adoption curve is no longer a curve. It's spikes now, and especially I don't know, after COVID, just everything that the AI thrown in here is just accelerated everything. That's why I mean, there's a lot of dynamic stuff going on in the business world right now. I mean, could you imagine trying to be in this industry or not this, but be in an industry where it's very difficult to put a 5-year plan together, if all not outright impossible right now. The things are just way too dynamic in the technology realm for now. Who knows where it's going to go? But you're right. So how do we? I mean, it's a catch-22. Our industry is very, we've got smart guys, we've got tough guys, we've got entrepreneurs, good salespeople. They are somewhat risk averse at times, but then you'll see someone who's not. They'll just jump on board and do something that looks crazy at one point. So I mean, that's Art and I. That's why we think this is not a bad idea. Actually, I like
Yeah.
it because everyone's talking about artificial intelligence and how to make document management better with AI. Okay, that's a lemming. That you guys can go ahead and attack that all you want, and all they're doing. That's what I was going to talk about. Is they're just slapping AI on the side of something. No one's talking about robotics, but I think a physical thing is what is going to work to it's going to be easier to adapt to something you can touch and feel, and that makes sense versus trying to stuff artificial intelligence into everything and make yourself relevant because now you've got a AI sticker on the side of your documentum or whatever it is.
So do you think that the physical office will survive?
It will to a certain extent, but
What's that mean?
That means that not as strong, right? It won't, ideally, I look at this. Skyscrapers were the data centers of the 1800s, right? You put all your resources into one location and the work took place 9 to 5 and everyone went home. And then the whole social model was built on that, going to school from 9 to 5, leaving, you got a bell, lunch break, bell, go home and homework. So that whole model was built to supply more workers in whatever. That's going to change. That is changing. So I just saw the other day, was it today or yesterday, where for the first time, data center construction is outpacing office construction. I think that was this morning. So, you read and go, oh, that's cool. But you think about it, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? People aren't going back to the office. No matter what you hear, they're not going back to the office. The layoffs are going to affect not just seasoned Gen Xers or boomers because they don't need anymore, but your entry level positions are going away as well. So that means you don't have to have a guy come in the office to learn how to walk down the hall and talk to the doc or whatever. So yeah, it's going to change. The physical office will change, but it will be more automated. So if you think about, we're just baby stepping this in, but ultimately it is a lights out environment. But, we'll see not yet. We can still grab whatever revenue we can in the next 10, 15 years, maybe by selling these robots that work with humans until the robotics takes over everything. That's the way I look at it.
Until they realize they have no reason for us and they get rid of us.
Yeah. I mean, technology has always been shortcutting and getting rid of the middleman and reducing human toil. So, right. I mean, from the wheel, the cow, the horse, the steam engine, it removed people. That's just the way it was. And it shifted into different jobs, but I still go back to the 70s when the paint machine came into the production line in Detroit. There was 3 shifts of 50 people that would hand paint the cars as they came out. And when those robots came in, there was a lot of protesting. It didn't stop them. They came in, and some of the guys were absorbed into other functions, but most of them were, ripped out into some other whatever. But yeah, I think.
So,
yeah.
So what do you predict? Do you predict the office will go paperless before bathrooms or not?
Well, if you ask the French, they've had a bidet for 4 or 5 centuries. They haven't had paper in their toilets for a while. The Japanese have been looking at that for a while. Probably not. I think they'll still have paper in toilets.
So do you think that there's any consequences of having remote business taking place instead of having people in a collective location?
No, I think a remote's the best way to go. I think that we've wasted more time in meetings over the last 50 years. And that's only because we've hired more people. We've talked to more people. Now, this isn't, business structure, business process, executive decision making. This isn't face-to-face sales that I'm talking about. I'm talking about, it isn't even creativity anymore. That can be done remote. But to have someone come in the office and process invoices for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, no. Purchase orders, No. How about designing a machine? You don't need the engineers in the same room anymore.
No.
You don't.
So,
In fact,
I'll
you shouldn't.
backtrack on that a little bit. I work with a lot of architects and engineers,
Yep.
and they want their people in the office. They want that transfer of knowledge.
They can want it all they want. It won't make a difference.
Well, a lot of the architects and engineers have brought those people back to where they're in there 5 days a
The
week,
one
especially
company,
here in New Jersey.
the one engineer architectural company that reduces their cost by 30 or 40% because they don't want everyone back in an office is going to beat those guys for those jobs because it won't cost their bids will be underneath the fully office residuals or whatever you want to call it because it's all about a cost. It's it's increase revenue, reduce costs, grow profits. So if it's less expensive to have my engineers from Chicago to LA than to have a building in New Jersey, and I can bid jobs and win them because my costs are 30% less. It's a spreadsheet. It's not even, it's a no-brainer. Yeah,
I don't
that's
think-
what you. Yeah,
I don't think we're there yet. 10 years from now,
it's well,
It could be a-
architecture, finance, and legal have always been, laggards, right? Anyone who's heavy paper intense has usually been the slowest to change. But the amount of change that's been happening in those industries, at least in the last 5 to 8 to 10 years, has been significant. So
well, we've seen the amount of change since COVID, especially in print.
COVID too. COVID, yeah, and that actually that was an influence or a pressure of a remote office environment. And people ended up realizing, wait a minute, I can do my job here and the laundry and get things done, and I don't have to drive 25 minutes. You guys know this argument. It's been, and everything. What businesses went out of business during COVID because you had remote workers? The second everyone came back is when everyone started getting laid off.
So I'm going to lean with Art on this one because I don't think we've realized the consequences yet. It's kind of like when everybody said, don't stay home and take care of your kids. And we found out 20 years later that was a bad idea. And the reason why I'm going to throw this out there is because how many people print a piece of paper to study the piece of paper and they were probably the author of the piece of paper? Agreed?
I don't know.
People read paper to collaborate with ideas. And the one thing that non-office people have, I think, that's missing is in a conversation, it could be like we're having a conversation right now.
Right.
It will spur abstract thinking. Do you agree?
Mhm.
Like right now, Art could say something that would be whatever Art says, and it could literally trigger a thought or evoke a thought in both of our heads, right? That doesn't necessarily take place on a Zoom call. The Zoom call is too sterile. So my point is I think there are things in an office that can be done remotely. I don't think the person needs to come into the office to do the billing. I don't think the person needs to come in and do that. But that isn't the part of the dynamic of a business that generates or runs the business. And the business is usually a collaboration. Do you agree? There's a vision.
Collaboration, sure. Okay, there's a whole nother subject. Go on.
And the track to run on. The leaders of the company of whatever industry create a track to run on. Do you agree? They say, we're going to build this widget. We're going to do X, Y, Z. And our objective is to get to wherever there is, whatever axis that would be. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My point of it is that track to run on requires interaction. And I'm not convinced, and maybe it's because of the industry I'm in, I'm not convinced that Zoom provides all of the details and all of the abilities that interaction does. I'm just saying, I don't know. In my opinion,
I do. Yeah, it's an opinion. That's valid. I would say there are some generational things there. There are business biases already there. And it's not just you, right? This is a whole thing. But if you look at generations that have been brought up on the internet, have been brought up, and COVID did this, is like they're brought up on Zoom sessions and things like that. The creativity and the quote synergy that used to occur in a face-to-face does occur in a screen-to-screen. It just occurs differently. And then if you even flavor in what's going on with artificial intelligence and the ability for everyone to be an expert, the collaboration, because collaboration, other than creativity, is usually just trading knowledge that I didn't know that you did know, right? Or vice versa, right? We're exchanging ideas. I didn't know that. I learned that from you. Well, now I can collaborate with an artificial thingy and get like thousands of different tidbits of knowledge on any particular segment or idea without having to schedule a meeting and do all that other stuff. Right? I don't have to do that. I can get what I can get. Inspiration as another thing. We used to inspire each other. We still do, but there's even more dimensions to inspiration now that don't necessarily need human to human interface.
Regardless of how many inputs you take to yourself, though, you could be using AI, you could be using television, you could be using YouTube. At the end of the day, all the blind spots are still being filtered through your one perception. Whereas in an office environment, they're not. Because Art could have just a second ago just interrupted your conversation and put a thought into this in real time, and that would have changed the dynamic of our conversation. Agreed?
I agree with that, but I also would say, and because that's happened, but I've never been in the same office with Art physically. It still happens. I still get that synergetic spark with, I'm talking to people from Taiwan. I still get that that I would not have been able to do if it weren't for this crazy connectivity thing.
So Kevin, I believe we're social animals. I believe we still need people in the business to collaborate and do that transfer of knowledge. I believe over time, as AI gets more intuitive and more ingrained in our business processes, that could falter. But I will go back to a conversation Greg and I had on one of our Ask Us Anything shows back in, I think it was April, Greg, that we spoke about one of my accounts, a new account that I got. And the reason I got that new account is because they called up their service provider and they had placed several service calls, and there was actually zero response for a few days. And we spoke about crickets, and crickets is what we're calling our robotic proof of concept. And it led our talk track to talking about, okay, well, what if the office equipment could have a robot that could do the mundane tasks for supplying copy machines, whether it's going and getting a toner cartridge, getting a waste toner cartridge, or what was it, bringing paper to the machine.
Staples.
And that's what started our proof of concept, was just basically that interaction on a Zoom call.
Right. That's right. The customer. Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. So the inspiration was from a Zoom call, I guess is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. But I'm also a firm believer in that transfer of knowledge, because I work with architects and engineers all the time.
Oh, I think because we're all in sales, there's a high value that we give to that face-to-face interaction, no matter what it is, right? I mean, the sad thing that's happening on that is, from a salesperson standpoint, that face-to-face interface is much more valuable to us than it is the buyer.
Right.
I think what's happening is the buyers are changing faster than the salespeople. The way they buy things is ahead of how we're trying to sell things.
I was in an account yesterday. The first appointment was actually via Zoom call, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then it changed. The second appointment was actually going to be another Zoom call to finalize the financials of our agreement, which on a Zoom call can go either way. But I had to actually be close to their location yesterday, so I changed it from a Zoom call to an in-person call, right?
All right.
I believe the in-person brought up a lot of additional questions. I got additional information out of that account. And I believe because of that on-site interaction, the deal's gonna move quicker. I spoke about this earlier, and we're gonna have that deal sometime next week. Just because of that interaction and going on site.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I think in the sales environment, what is as more and more things become remote, that face to face actually does become more important, right?
Right, right.
So, and site surveys, I don't see how you can get out of doing that. There's just no way. And when I say site survey, that's a sales appointment, right? You're there checking if the machine fits through doors, but you're also looking at workflow and filing cabinets and all sorts of other stuff on site. So I think that's valuable. Yeah, yeah, that should live for a while.
Yeah, because you got to remember it was only 5 years ago. There was no other way.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, you couldn't type and craft an email well enough to get somebody to answer it that way. You know,
Yeah, you
so
had to
now,
knock on the door. Yeah, yeah.
so all of a sudden, 5 years, we forgot everything we've known for 50 years.
Hmm.
But we've
You know,
gotten much better at emails.
yeah, well,
But
you
yeah,
know what?
yeah.
And to kind of put a bow on what we're talking about, we could have solved all this over a beer.
Hmm.
It's been going on for years.
I've had
So,
the answers for decades over bourbon. We've saved the world twice at least by now.
at which one did you finally get the right answer when it all dawned on you, when it
Oh,
all
it was
became clear?
it's too late. I don't even remember. God. It became clear to me a long time ago. It just wasn't clear to everyone else.
How's
Yeah,
your,
the
go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
no, I'll go ahead. I was going to ask you a little bit about that Canon stuff. I'm kind of curious about that OS.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I've got it actually,
You have it up?
I just gotta,
That's the first I heard of it, actually, Art.
So
yeah, go ahead. I've got it back up on my screen.
my world is a little bit more about compliancy and security. That's where I live.
Oh, okay.
So my ecosystem is way different than yours. I'm all in about NIST and CMMC compliances and no backdoors, and I don't really talk brochure language. I don't know too much about that stuff.
Right.
So I'm more interested in technology stacks and stuff like that, how it's mission aligned, and anyway. Um, so I'm trying to figure out the parallel or the dynamic, what Canon would be doing, because what I'm seeing is these manufacturers, the technology is so old that it's not going to get any newer. Okay, and I'm wondering, is this something that Canon is looking at as a way to make the customer think that's keeping up with the iPhone, or is this something that what is the end value to the customer, not the dealer? I'm only interested in what the customer gets. What's the mission on this?
Good question.
Well, from what I could, and this is just like off the top of my head, it looks like it's an environment that will tie phones together with copiers. And again, I'll go with you. I don't know what that has to do with anything,
Right.
right? But in this industry, that's happened so often, it's normal. It's like, well, why would you want to talk to your copier? I remember when they did that. And
Well,
that,
that's been around for a while with
yeah, it is.
Alexa, right?
Well,
However, we
the
spoke about
Conoco
that
did.
on our
Yeah.
last meeting about communication.
Yeah. Canon. Oh, Alexa just answered you.
Yeah, I know. Got it running in the background.
Um,
Because
So,
I see security blind spots everywhere.
are you kidding me? There's got to be a zillion of them in there.
Yeah, everything's open on this thing. Yeah,
So-
no, don't worry, Mr. Customer. Zero trust compliance. Yeah, we got it. NIST 140. Don't worry. Go to sleep. We got this.
so
No.
here's what ChatGPT says. Harmony OS and Harmony OS Next are increasingly central to China's push for a domestic unified smart device ecosystem.
Mhm.
By aligning Huawei's platform, Canon secures a stronger position with the growing market.
So they're
Because
they're turning the copier into an appliance.
Mhm. A connected appliance to everything.
Yeah,
So,
and it just happens to be a node on the network that IT people don't. When you can't even get a meeting with an IT person on a copier or printer, they're going to pay all kinds of attention. It's just going to sit there quietly
mhm.
data mining off the network, right?
In
Yeah.
China? No.
No, gosh,
no, yeah,
heck
right.
no.
Mm-mm.
we're gonna hire all the Lexmark people for consultants.
So here's technology alignment. Canon printers benefit from native Harmony OS features like improved UI, better connectivity protocols, and enhanced security built into OS. Meanwhile, Huawei ensures more hardware software cohesion with its ecosystem. Long-term strategic. This isn't a one-off. Canon and Huawei have collaborated since 2018. Canon has looked to expand Harmony OS to other product lines, smartphones, tablets, PCs, to create a unified smart office system.
So here's my problem with the heat-based manufacturers, and I'm not going to single one out. This doesn't even have to necessarily be Canon, but every single thing that they do it's still building on a dependency as a strategy. I just can't get over how we just continue to make everything a dependency for the customer. For the life of me, I don't know why that makes any sense. I mean, I guess I work with Epson, I work with Brother. That's completely opposite of what their thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their focus is not in that direction. I mean, you can't, who would buy a copy? You sign two things when you buy a copier. You sign the lease contract and you sign the service contract because nobody believes for a minute that technology can run on its own. Do you agree?
Correct.
It's not going to happen. Okay. If you don't have, I mean, they wouldn't even think about signing not having a maintenance agreement. And again, it all goes back to that dependency. And what I'm seeing these manufacturers doing on these technology stacks or these things here, they're disregarding the things that matter the most to the people that we have to spend the most time with. That's IT. And that's about what can we do to make them have some better sleep at night, knowing that our devices aren't going to be the weak link. Okay. Every product, every strategy has a weak link. And the beautiful thing I can say about working with Epson and Brother is they're not the weak link. Okay. We can go in and look at their technology stack, their firmware, and we go, you know what? We may not have that one widget out there that can go talk to the connected telephone, but we know for certain that those devices aren't going to be hacked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's normally what you can't see that's the most important, in my opinion, you know? But
Yeah.
I believe the manufacturers are missing the most important point, which is client satisfaction, making it easier for the client to do business. Craig and I have spoken about this before. You take a company like Ricoh or Canon, and their MFP line is 30 to 40 different types of devices. There is no need for that. Give me one device for A3, give me one device for A4. Let me sell subscriptions to the client for whether they want color, whether they want what speed, whether they want a variable speed, turn it on, turn it off. Make it easy for the client to get your product instead of all this rigmarole that we've got to go through. And if a machine, they up their volume and the machine doesn't last after 2 years and they're tied into a 5-year lease, that's a heartache. That's heartache for the dealer. It's heartache for the client, and it creates a distrust from the client to the OEM.
yeah, it discredits our value.
Absolutely.
This conversation could have been said in 1999. It's the exact same thing.
Right. Because it's Japan Inc.'s dependency model.
Right.
I mean, we're all a part of, we are dependent on them. The whole idea of the consumption based, I mean, I won't even get started on this. Okay, guys, because I bleed Epson Inc. So I'm just going to tell you, I bleed, you know, I'm just in a different world in this industry than most. But I can tell you one thing, we're all dependent on that model. We're just a part of the wheel. Okay. Right. Because it's dependency based. It's either technology dependency based, or it's hardware dependency based. Parts, firmware. I mean, it's just consumption. Do you agree?
Yeah. And well, here's the dirty devil here. It worked, right? You're not going to see, you know, Ricoh's still selling copiers. Canon's still selling copiers. Yep. They made a lot of money for hundreds of thousands of people, made good livings off of something from the 1970s that was a consumption based. I mean, it wasn't always a service contract attached to a copier. right?
No.
A fire
Yeah.
extinguisher came with it. But, so if the model works, that inertia is going to take a long time for it to stop. And again, this isn't just copiers. This is the whole 70s, 80s, OEM manufacturers. They really didn't cater to what the client customer wanted, right? It was very rare. It was, if you look real, especially in manufacturing, it was the quotas were driven down from the manufacturing, were just an MRP, we're just a materials planning. If we want to make X amount of dollars, we're going to have to sell 50,000 widgets. If we want
Hmm.
to sell 50,000 widgets, we're going to need 100 dealers. Each dealer is going to have to sell this. And then, if we buy all this raw materials, the whole stack, the whole thing went all the way up. So it had nothing to do with, people want to move data around on paper quickly. No one even thought about that. All right.
Nothing to do with that model at all.
No,
Yeah.
there was never end user focused. It was, and that's also something. It was just addressing a symptom to a business process and making a lot of money. So now, what you got Epson coming into the market with their liquid thingamajigger, and now you can take an anti-heating stance, which has always been an issue, right? I mean, pressure, the xerographic pressure process is exactly that, and that's what everyone else uses, whatever it's an LED, whatever it's still that. So when you have a talk track, like you just said, that's the only thing Epson can say. They can't they can't jump into the heat market. They wouldn't want to anyway, but they can do the liquid. And that's what they can say. It's like, hey, all right, now we're liquid, we're different, we don't heat, we're safer. What was the last two things I saw on LinkedIn talking about toner and plastic particles coming off a toner? Now could be dangerous for people in the office. That's about the first thing hit in 2007. I found an article I wrote about it back in 2007, but now it's making the rounds again. And I think it was an Epson study that discovered there was funded. It was somehow, and I'm not yeah, go for it. That's what's going to happen. I think the biggest thing Epson's got is just buy the ink and don't even have to worry about it. Right? I mean,
They don't break.
yeah, it's not going to break. You print your 12 a week and it's color. And I think those toner tanks last for a cajillion years or something, don't they? I mean, that's what Shaq said, right?
What's funny is that Epson's added when Epson built Precision Core, they never built it to compete in the copier industry. They built it to replace the copier industry. Their
That
intention
line.
their intention literally is not to compete because of the inherent problems. And the article you were just talking about with the nanoplastics, I pinned that.
Okay.
That's my article. And that actually came from Harvard Review. And it wasn't designed, I didn't put it, I've had it for a long time. I've never put it out there. And the reason I put it out there wasn't to scare people into it, but nanoplastics are in all kinds of our other domains in our life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the areas where people need to have a reason to make a change. And some people don't realize complacency is just sometimes just nothing more than not making a change. Do you agree? And
I think
the inkjet provides them that capability. Are you guys trying to cut off at 4?
No.
Okay, so here's a question I always ask people. Well, actually, I just had this conversation. Does anybody know why we got to the cost per page model in our industry?
Yeah.
Art, we all know the answer to that?
So my answer goes back to the 80s, and it was to secure our consumables with the hardware.
100%.
Yep.
Toner pirates.
Yep. Toner
Toner
pirates. And
pirates.
back in the 80s, if we just sold the maintenance agreements we sold in the beginning did not include supplies. They had to go out and buy the supplies because we were scared that the supplies would last as the manufacturers said they would.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
It was all based around toner pirates to protect
toner pirates were
aftershock.
big in the 80s. Yep.
Yeah. That's why it was. It was never intended to be a good idea. I mean, if you really want to put it together. So here's my question for you. So every dealer wants to argue that the best model that you can have is the cost per page model, correct? Oh yeah, we've got to go out and put them on a cost per page model. Who's the one that decides the most important question, which is yield? So an envelope costs the same price as a full sheet of ink, right? Or of toner,
Correct.
because it's just a structured based charge, right? And we sell it that it's easy to understand and that this, that, and the other, but we've never ever tried to do a yield based program. Like literally 95% of all of our devices across the United States are all on a yield based program. We don't have literally two handfuls of cost per page printing anymore. We don't. We just don't have any. And the reason why was we said, who's this fair for? Because who's going to determine the yield? Why should you get charged the same amount of money? It's like if you went to the post office and said, I want a 50-pound pot, I want to pay the 50-pound price for a device to be shipped on UPS, but I'm really only going to ship an envelope. I mean, that's the discrepancy in our industry, right? How much yield is going on the page? And so we've changed that years ago. We've literally haven't done it for a long time. And a dealer, they'll fight you tooth and nail and say, no, it has to be a cost per page. Says who? Let the customer buy the supplies and get their own, subject to their own mileage based off of what they do. We know, you and I know, that there's customers out there that use a ton of magenta but don't use any cyan or whatever.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yes.
So every structured print cost is based on 4 colors.
Yep. And it's
Regardless
based on
if
a worst case scenario.
Yeah, for the dealer,
Correct.
right? So, but you can't get a dealer to ever go off that model. But then they all try to say that they're in the odds are of the customer. We're looking out after the customer. No, you're looking out after your P&L.
You are. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you agree?
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
it's worse
absolutely.
than that. I mean, they don't make money on the hardware. It's all on the service. It's always been that way, right? I mean, a number of machines equals number of technicians that I can have in the field. The service department ran the dealership. The service department. That's where the P&L. That's where the P came from in your service department. All right. So every machine. And God, can you imagine the good old days? 10,000 images an employee. Yeah, they're raking in dough left and right on those things. But, and then it just established, and we couldn't measure down to the yield is a great question. We all know that, right? The toner yield from OEMs are never right. They're never right. And we've done tons of studies,
Nobody prints 5% coverage.
No one does. It's like the dumbest thing in the world, but that's what, again, back to our earlier, we were under the thumb of the OEMs and we're making money at it. That's another thing. It worked. It worked. Right. It worked. So yeah, okay. And put a little bit on the customer. They didn't care about the copiers. They didn't. So as long as the lease payment was under this, the service didn't even matter because that comes into a whole nother budget. So whatever.
Yeah. So
buy
Kevin,
it, keep going.
Yeah, Kevin, I've seen HP invoices for wide formats where they're billing the cost per square foot, but they actually got a program that's monitoring the usage on every ink cartridge, and then they're billing per milliliter of ink used. Does Epson use anything like that?
So, first of all, you have to go back and start with the premise that HP is controlling the supplies of that device, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, as far as being able to get the supplies as well, it's all HP based. So the customer never really owns the machine; they kind of rent it. Do you agree?
Well, is that the same with Epson?
If it's on an FMV lease.
Well, but what I'm saying as far as the supplies. Like I have a 1-year-old Epson sitting in the warehouse, or HP sitting in the warehouse right now, and we were at an HP dealer back when you could still be an HP dealer per se, of servicing, and it won't run unless you get the supplies keyed from HP. Now, is that a monopoly?
So they've got you're talking about the chip toners, right? You can't have a third-party toner. Yeah.
Okay. And the only reason it's telling you the milliliters is because that's something that what does that tell the customer?
I mean, it doesn't tell the customer. Just tell us how many milliliters of ink they used in that monthly invoice.
We're trying to teach them how to build a watch so they can learn how to tell what time it is. Right? I mean, all they really care about is what's the baby? What does this cost me? Here's an example.
It gives them it's actually an unpredictable cost.
100%. Thank you. That's exactly where I was heading with this whole thing.
Yep.
Back in the day when we didn't care about yield, we just cared about profit. here's the catch. We had double line spacing, and you know what we competed against? Word processors.
Hmm.
There was no Adobe. There was no graphic programs. We didn't have email. We had print and distribute models, not distribute and print models, right? Like email now. Now we don't print it and send it in an envelope. We just email it, and if you want to print it, go ahead and print it.
Right.
All of those dynamics have changed.
Yes.
No, in answer to you asked a question about Epson. No, they absolutely are not device. They're not screwing any customer down on dependency at all. If you can go out and buy it somewhere cheaper, that's fine.
So you can buy another. I didn't know that. You could buy other toner ink bottles from other manufacturers. I did not know that.
What do you as far as what do you mean?
The
Well, like with
Epson-
that, well, I'm saying like, okay, like let's say that I'm charging a customer $200 for X, and your company, and they can find the same product for $160 from somebody else. That's free trade. The customer is able to go do that with an Epson. Agreed?
Okay, it's an
It's still
Epson
Epson Inc.
branded. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So they can go to
Yeah.
Office Max and find it for this price, or they can buy it from you and find it 2x that price. They're going to go over somewhere else because they're not under a service and supplies contract. Then it sounds like.
100, okay, here's the catch. So what's really unique about Brother and Epson is Brother and Epson don't sell directly. Now, they both sell indirectly through Office Max, Office Depot, etc.
Hmm.
But if you called Epson right now or Brother up and said, I want to buy a boatload of these machines, they would have to refer you to a distributor or a dealer to be able to make the deal. They won't take your money. Okay. So
Right.
their business model is completely different than Japan Inc. Did
Well,
that
it
make
is
sense?
because it goes through distribution and through dealers. So you're competing with a distributor as well as other dealers. Most of the, help me out, Art. I think most of the directs are gone now from,
No, they
there's still some around.
they
Okay.
still have a direct operation. However, they're not as big as they used to be.
Yeah, I remember the big sell-off years ago, right?
So I'm sure if Enterprise
Actually, it means they
Company,
weren't any good at it.
yes,
They
right,
weren't.
they weren't any good at it.
They
Yeah.
were never any good at it.
But
But
if Rico got a lead from a Enterprise Company and they wanted $5,000 devices, I don't even think a dealer would even see that lead.
No.
no, they wouldn't be able to fulfill it though either. I mean, back then there was no national. It was very sketchy national coverage, and to go international, it's totally out. That's it's Ricoh, Xerox, or Canon.
Right, but if
Yeah.
that lead came in today
It'd be a
to
little more open, yeah. But
to Ricoh or Canon or Xerox, that enterprise lead would stay in-house.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But so now back to the Epson thing. So I did not know that. So do you even write service contracts then? Probably not.
Well, so here's what's interesting. So I have Epsons out that have been out there for 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't required service.
Okay.
So in all of your service contracts, this is where I was kind of going with this thing, is when you have a Japan Inc., and I'm going to call it heat based because I'm the one that writes all those articles that you're talking about, that they're all consumption based. There's going to be a certain number of toners, there's going to be a certain number of fusers, there's going to be a certain number of imaging units, whatever that particular technology requires, that have a beginning and an ending in this life cycle. Do you agree? Okay, so that's the premise of a maintenance agreement you're basically paying in a maintenance agreement for those as in the future for those to come in, right? And what's happening with the customer in the industry is dealers are going third party for their supplies, their parts, the whole bit. They're trying to cut the cost on the backside, and then those aren't yielding as well. But the whole thing is this is all at the expense of the customer. Well, here's the catch with the Epson. It's every component in that Epson is designed to go the 3.8 million pages. It's not intended to be replaced. Now, can it be replaced? Absolutely. Yeah, we can go in and with a few screws, we can put a new head in it. We can put a new pump in it, whatever we need to do, depending on what we're talking about. And it's 15-minute call, real quick. But very unlikely that device is going to have a hardware failure. Okay? So now the question is, first of all, you're never going to get a customer to believe you when you tell them, hey, we have machines out there for 3+ years and we haven't serviced them. I have machines, listen to this, I have machines in states in banks and in industries in remote places in the United States where I would have to fly somebody in to service it. And they have been there for years, and we've never had a service call or a complaint. That's how dependable they are because they're not on a consumption-based model.
What are
Does
their
that-
volumes?
Oh, well, I'll give you one. They're on the cruise ships. There's 300 of them on the cruise ships, and they're all running up onto 8 million pages in 3 years, 2 years.
So 3 machines are doing 800 in 3 years. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's machines out there. We have machines out there, right, that are in the 100-page a minute machines and 80-page a minute machine segments that are doing 100K a month, not even breaking a sweat. In fact, what's really interesting is when you look at the metrics of how the head works on an Epson, it's not about the volume; it's about the number of jobs that gets sent through it, processed through it over its life cycle. So, the reason I'm even bringing this up is because when you look at that dynamic and you say, okay, now we're not having consumption in our contract, all we're having is ink. You could go out and charge a customer $25, $30, $50 a month, depending on what the situation is, and tell them to buy their ink from you. Just buy your ink from me. They have to buy it from someone anyway, right?
Right.
And at that point, I give you the warranty. I'm taking the liability of the equipment, the exposure, which
okay, yeah.
which-
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
which
All
every
right.
service contract puts on every dealer anyway, right? That's the only reason the customers take it is because it makes their problem our problem. Do you agree?
Okay. So these contract, we here buy the machine, lease the machine, $30 a month is a service agreement, and you have to buy your toner from me or your ink from me.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Simple.
So then now the customer isn't free to go to that cheaper supply source.
Well,
So
they can if they want to, but the
Okay.
point is they don't, and we're not overcharging them. I mean, we're giving them the same kind of
So
discounts
then
anyway.
I guess, all right, so it's a commodity sale then. It
Well,
really is.
It more or less is because we don't really have what you would say. We're not going to be in there every month learning their dog's name. If the kids run the track meet, we don't know all that anymore because we literally have customers we've never met.
So I'm gonna go back to cruise ships, and we
like cruise
used to the dealership I owned at one time. We used to service cruise ships going out of New York City and Bayonne, and we even sold them machines, and it was a nightmare with the heat-based machines. They were
Mhm.
always
can
breaking. They were
imagine.
always needing parts. They were very unhappy because they'd get to a port and the machine is not working, and a port we could not support. And the difference with inkjet over that heat-based is reliability. And
Oh my God.
and
Yeah.
no, no fusers, no. Back in the 80s, it was fuser oil, it was drums,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was cleaning blades. It was
Salt,
just a
air,
multitude of parts, and basically it still is. There's no fuser oil anymore. The Corona wires are passé,
Yeah.
but there's still a tremendous amount of parts that got to go into heat-based machines. So Kevin, I agree about the reliability of the inkjet-based devices.
Now
So-
let me give you the next step. So, how many businesses do you walk into, Art, where you can actually get into the building anymore?
Mm-mm.
They're all badged now.
50, I would say in New Jersey, 60% I can't get into. I got to press a buzzer and somebody
buzzed
will
in.
meet me at the door or no one comes to the door.
Right. Okay, so the reason I bring that up is because one of the things that we're seeing from our perspective is these customers don't want us on site. They don't know our background.
No.
They're going for zero trust. They're going air gap security, right? And you go into these military bases, you go into these secure data centers, you go into anything that has a compliancy
Mhm.
standard, and you're asking a stranger to come in because you have to break all your protocols for this person to come in and service your copier.
And they may not be vetted.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so what we're doing is we're training them to work on their own Epsons.
Mhm.
We literally are. So
Well,
they're becoming the beginning and the end of their own problem.
Yeah.
And
Self-service.
it's called, yeah, it literally is. And it's working awesome. I mean, we're happy, they're happy. I mean, how many times have you went out on a service call that if they would have just taken 2 minutes to listen to you, it could have been solved in minutes and you wouldn't have had to drive all the way over there. I mean, let's,
plenty of
All the
times.
time.
yeah, and you know
Those
what?
mundane calls, I don't know how to put in a waste. I don't know how to take the waste toner cartridge out.
Right. Yeah. But here's the
Right.
catch. When you have all your parts that don't need to be replaced, that skill set that you were talking about earlier about trying to find
Mhm.
people to still go out and do it, they don't need to know how to put the circlip on or how to pull the spring correctly and go find it when it launches across the room because they didn't have the right tool. There's none of that in an Epson. It's fully digitized. Okay? It's literally a digitized process. You would never expect to have to take your phone apart and fix it, right? Well, that's literally the level that Epson has made these devices now. I mean, I come from the heat-based industry. Trust me. I mean, so for me to say that is a big thing to say.
Right.
And this goes back to your robot. The hardest part is to get somebody to believe you because it doesn't look familiar, right?
Right.
Your robot is a great idea. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying what's crazy is to get people to believe.
Nope. Absolutely
I-
right.
Well, here's the hardest part about selling Epson. The customer doesn't know me. They have no history with my company. If we're doing a cold call, let's say it's the first call, right? They don't know me. They don't know my company. They don't know my product, and they don't know my technology. What could go wrong?
Welcome to
Right.
sales.
Right. So the dealers have to figure out literally on every single call
Yeah. Yeah.
how to get the message, how to message this.
Yeah.
And then- and then-
Especially if they've already got three
Right.
lines that everyone's familiar with. They got salespeople that already know
Yeah.
how to sell a Canon and a cop. You're right. Well, that's shit. That's tough.
And I've
And then-
recently seen your messaging on LinkedIn, and I made a few comments on that. I think that's pretty cool the way you're doing it.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting because the whole Epson call in this situation, and then by the way, what I'm going to do is tell you, Art, now that you've kind of warmed up to me, we're kind of doing okay on the call. Maybe you'll talk to me a little bit longer, and then I drop the bomb on and tell you I have machines that have been out there for months and months and months and months and months, and I've done no service calls on them, and now all of a sudden all my credibility just left, right?
Oh,
Because
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
not the normal world,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the catch. So we have a unique opportunity with Brother. We do hot swap. So military, government, enterprise, we don't come boots on the ground at all. We send them overnight
Mhm.
a new device. It's already all ready to go. They just take it out of the box, plug it in, and put the other one in the box, and somebody comes, the UPS truck picks it up, and it's gone, right? And do you know how many of those we've replaced over the years? 3. That's how dependable they've just gotten.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole program works equally as well with the Brother for the desktop as it does for us with the Epson on the walk-up.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean but when you talk to dealers, they're like, "Oh, that's just going to kill our industry." Stop talking about all those things on
I've
LinkedIn.
been saying that for a million years.
100%.
I think so. Is Epson Memjet? Do you remember Memjet?
No, Epson
So-
is not Memjet.
Okay.
Epson had Memjet and sold it.
All right.
Then
They
in
were
2014 they went to Precision Core.
Precision Core, and was that a Korean or
No. Precision. Okay, so the difference
they
between
designed it themselves? I guess I should ask. That's probably
oh yeah, they built
Okay.
they build all their own. In fact, they all not only do they design their own technology, they build them as well.
It's a
Okay.
piezo inkjet.
So- Yeah, it's piezo. So the two types of inkjet that are out there, the one that got the bad rap over the years that coagulated and caused all of the stir
That's the heat
What-
based, correct?
was the heat 100%. It was
Yes.
yeah, it was called blister printing.
Yeah.
It heated and it injected and shot ink on a piece of paper. Very, very unreliable, very, very not, I mean, we're talking very primitive. 2014, they went over to Precision Core. Precision Core can take 10.5 million pixels on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and drop it 1/50th the size of a human hair exactly where it's at. And you can take literally a magnifying glass and try to find that 1 pixel on that piece of paper. And if you measure it on the coordinates, it'll actually be exactly on that spot. It is completely digitized. And it's all water based.
And that's called the cold piezo, correct?
Right. Yep. Yep.
Got it.
So there's no blistering to it at all.
Got it. Got it.
So those heads have 30 million jets in them.
I was just going to ask.
30 million nozzles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when a piece of paper crosses over, there's 30 million nozzles that are vectoring to shoot that paper with
Is
that
it a
ink.
full page head or?
Yeah, it's a full page head.
Full page head. Okay.
So they run those heads in their commercial division on the roll-fed paper presses.
Yeah.
So they run them literally in millions of feet per week with those heads. So the heads are just scalable. They can run that head at as many heads as they want to put in an array. In fact, I'll show you. I have a head. I have one of the chips sitting right here, and I'll just kind of put it up there for
It's
you.
an array. Okay.
That's that's a head.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a chip in the head.
We
And-
sell the Epson wide formats, and I have zero issues with the Epson wide formats.
Yeah, but you go try to tell a customer, the hardest part you have is to convince them that it isn't going to break.
Right. The
know.
main calls I get is I can't figure out how to put the paper in again.
Well,
That's about it. Hey, so I've got to roll shortly, so we need to bring the show to a close.
wow, Kevin, this has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, invite me back sometime. Let's talk more stuff. I mean, I don't know much, but I can tell you
I
what
like
I do know.
it. I mean, it's my last liquid was Edgeline. That's what I remember, and I hope
wow.
you don't remember that because
We do this every Friday. I'll put you on the invite list, and whenever you can make it. We're happy to have you.
Love
Yeah.
it. I would be
So-
happy to.
So we're ending our show with a trivia question that
Uh-oh.
once we put it on YouTube, people can get
yeah,
back
that's
to
right.
us. And we're offering a free training course on Celeste, our AI, the sales trainer. You'll never need a sales trainer again. So if you first one to answer correctly, give us a shout and we'll hook you up. So this is what I am. I'm getting better at this, but it says I was the first Japanese manufacturer to challenge Xerox in the copier market during the 70s and 80s.
Are we supposed to answer or you let
No,
somebody
don't
else
Well,
answer?
you can answer. Yeah.
No,
Oh.
no. I'm gonna let somebody else answer. I
Yeah,
already know
somebody-
the
Okay. All right.
I go back
know-
far enough to know that answer. So
So I'll give hint 2. I became known for reliability and lower costs to U.S. competitors. Hint 3, my early black and white models helped me break into North America and Europe. By the mid-1980s, I was one of the top 3 copier manufacturers in the world.
Oh wow.
The 5th hint is going to give it away. My name is also shared with a famous camera line. And we'll leave it at that. Everybody, please like, follow, share. It's Labor Day weekend. Everybody enjoy the weekend, and we'll be
weekend.
back next Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks, everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.